go in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, uControllers. Today we're going to walk you through a cinema or a media room setup using the MHUB 4x1 plus 1, I think. Yep, that's right, 4x1 plus 1.
That's right.
And the
Or the
uControl,
MHUB Mini.
or the MHUB Mini, or the MHUB 2, and the brand new uControl remote. This here is...
I'm Justin from HDA.
I forgot, yeah. And I'm Dylan Patney. So let's get started, shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay, so in a cinema or media room, Justin, what is the type of kit that you'd normally find?
Traditionally, we're going to have an AV receiver managing the system in a cinema room. We'll have some AV sources, Apple TVs, kaleidoscopes, skyboxes, that kind of thing. And of course, a display device. That could be a TV or a projector.
Okay, yeah. And what about like mood stuff?
For mood, smart lighting makes the cinema experience so much better. So we're anticipating either the client having or you offering a lighting system to go with it.
Generally in a cinema or a media room sort of space, you probably would want to control the lighting, you know, like if you needed to pause whatever you're watching,
Absolutely.
have the lights come up.
Yeah, and you want to do that from one place, right?
You know, yeah, cleaning mode or something like that. So yeah, and the MHUB can take care of all of that, can't it? Okay, so what is the control expectation? What are we trying to achieve with the MHUB?
Okay, for this room, we're going to wire the system in the following way. All the sources are going to come into the MHUB system. The MHUB system is then going to feed its HD-based output to the television. Could have been the projector, but either or. We're going to feed the mirror output of the MHUB into the AV receiver. The AV receiver just does the sound. And then all the sources are going to be plugged into the MHUB. And the MHUB is also the uControl controller. So it will be controlling the control of all that system and the lighting all in one go.
And the source that we're using today is
an Apple TV 4K.
Okay. And just out of interest, why did we pick the MHUB and not a zone processor?
That's an excellent question. So the reason we chose the MHUB is because it has an HD-based output, which means we can deliver not just video to the TV or the projector, but also provide a control endpoint. That's very, very useful when the gear is not immediately below or close to the TV or obviously the projector.
So with the zone processor, you're restricted basically wherever you put the zone processor, that's where your I/O has to be.
Yeah.
But with an MHUB, you get I/O for your video sources and you get I/O at the display end as well. So it's you have a bit more flexibility. It's a slightly better solution perhaps for
and also much
cinema rooms.
faster, cleaner install.
Yes.
So less time wasted.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the system.
You have to do less configuring with an MHUB because the MHUB handles the switching and the control for you, whereas you'd have to sort of mimic that with the zone processor.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit more complicated with the zone processor, but absolutely possible if you wanted to do that. So before we get started, Justin, we probably should mention a couple of caveats.
Yeah, we've taken some poetic license. So we have...
Well, we're treating this like a cookery show.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
We've sort
Baking with Justin and Dylan.
Yeah, there's one in the oven. So there some parts of this system are set up. Namely, we've got everything connected.
We've got everything connected to the system. We have done a process called first boot on the MHUB. It's a very simple process that gets the system from out the box ready for uControl setup. It's a sub 5 minute process. But very important, but very easy to do. And we have already put the remote control onto the property's Wi-Fi network.
So everything is on the network, everything is wired up.
Everything's
wiring is super easy. Just read the manual. It's all there. And for the sake of time, otherwise this video would be absolutely ginormous. We have configured parts of the system. Everything that we're going to show you is the exact right step in the right order.
Yeah.
But we've just because we don't want to be here for an hour, we've done.
You don't want to be here for an hour.
You don't want to be here for an hour either. We've sort of just done parts of the step, but we'll explain everything in the order that it needs to be, and you'll see it all on screen.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get started. We've first booted the system.
We've done
everything's
the first
connected.
boot. Everything's
and
connected.
I'm gonna get my remote and I'm gonna set that up, right?
Right. That's what everybody wants to do, but do not.
Don't do that.
Absolutely not. We're not setting up the remote. We're setting up uControl as a system. And so because we're doing that, what you want to do is set up uControl. The remote control comes last.
That's
So make
right.
sure your remote's on charge. Make sure it's on the Wi-Fi network. But you're going to do that last.
And the reason that you're going to do that last is that uControl, think of uControl as a system, and the uControl remote is just the uControl remote, which you're adding to a uControl system. So before you get to that remote stage, you need to make sure all the other little bits are in place beforehand. And that's like, what is the remote control controlling? What are the automations? Are you connecting to anything on IP? And that's what we're about to go through now. So there is an order, and the remote is last. And the very first thing is what?
We're going to start adding devices. We're going to add IR packs and IP packs to devices to control those devices so that the system knows what it's controlling and
Okay.
where those connections are.
And so Justin's about to get started on that. And these things are called uControl packs, right?
Correct.
And how do you get hold of them?
So on the menu, you go down to devices, you go to uControl. You do need an internet connection for this. You've got to have a live internet connection for this part of the process.
It should be whizzing up on your screen somewhere right now.
Yep, absolutely. And under devices, we're going to add a new device.
And
We're
what
gonna
device
choose
are we going to add?
AV device. We're going to do the Apple TV for this
Okay.
particular instance.
So if you remember, we said that we'd installed some bits and bobs. So the pack that we are going to install right now is the Apple TV.
Yep, I've assigned that to the Apple TV input port.
Yep.
It's an IR pack, so I've defined that as being an IR pack, not an IP pack.
If you've ever used Auto Trader to search for a card, the system is very, very similar. As you use one filter, like I'm searching for a set-top box or a media streamer, the filter in the question below will sort of reveal only those things. So, you know, Apple TV's under media streamer, I think, or something like that, or TV
It's
streamer.
a media streamer.
Yeah, the kind of category where you'd expect it to. And then what happens when you select that, Justin? What are you
Well,
doing now?
we look at the different packs that we've got for the Apple TVs. There are a few different packs.
Yep,
and
there's
if
a
you-
couple of generations.
Yeah, there are a couple of generations of Apple TV, correct. And so you want to look for the pack that's going to give you the most functionality for your Apple TV. And if you don't find the controls you're looking for, or if you test them and they don't work, well, then you just go back to the system, which is what I'm doing now, and you find the pack that does work. It's a very simple thing. You just click Test uControl Pack, and you're presented with a bunch of packs to control the Apple TV.
So what the system does is, let's say for instance, there are a couple of generations of Apple TV. What our cloud will do is it will download everything. It'll give you all the packs to test for Apple TV, and it will present that to you on one screen, and you can just figure out which one works and which one doesn't. Install the one that works, and as you can see, I think Justin is kind of doing that. Is that working?
Yep.
Okay.
We're busy testing the system, making sure we get
So,
something
yeah.
out of it.
So what Justin is doing is just making sure that he's getting the right, testing the right pack. So that you can see the TV is responding to those test commands. So what we will be doing now is
Click
installing
install,
it.
packs installed.
Perfect, it's in. So what are we doing after that? I guess we need to install an IP pack.
IP pack for the AV receiver. IP is the best way to control most of the popular brands of AV receivers.
So there are two different types of packs on UOS at the moment. You can install an IR pack for the large majority of AV devices, and there is a growing number of IP packs that are being added to the system, of which I think we've got most of the AVRs
All the
covered.
popular AVRs
Yep.
are covered. What I do want, if you don't mind interrupting, what I do want to say here is when you're loading an IP pack for an AVR to a cinema zone, or to any zone for that matter, you're always assigning that pack to the zone, not to the video output. That's where a TV or a projector goes, but to the zone. So in this case, when you see the screen shot that in front of you, what we're doing here is assigning this to the cinema zone.
And there are reasons for that. We could probably cover them in another video if you let us. If you want to know why that's important, let us know in the comments below. And we will explain what the difference between an IP pack and adding things to zones or assigning to outputs means. So what are you doing just now,
I have
Justin?
just defined that I want to do a Marantz IP pack, because that's the Marantz AV receiver.
Using the
we've got.
same search mechanism that we mentioned
Exactly
earlier.
the same as
Yep.
as doing an IR pack. The difference here with the IP packs is we have a little bit more information to put in. So we can change the name of the pack, we can just define it or describe it. But of course, the big thing is, and you've got to come prepared for this, you need to have the IP address of your
we've already mentioned it once before. Have a plan. Make sure you know what you're doing. Control is a little bit different to, you know, if you've been setting up the MHUB previously. What you really want to know is just have everything prepared. You know, the
absolutely.
IP addresses of all the IP devices you want to control. You have some idea of how those devices are controlled, and then all this part is pretty straightforward. It's literally asking for a IP address.
IP address and
the
that.
rest of the
I'm
things.
testing the pack exactly the same way we tested an IR pack. I heard it click while Dylan was talking.
Means
I
it's
know my
turning
power
on
on command worked.
Yep.
Tested the volume plus command.
You did it faster than the IR pack, weirdly.
It is a little bit.
It should be
I'm
a little
happy
bit
with
more
that, so I
complicated.
install it. And once I'm happy that I've installed it in the right place, I save it.
So that's now being installed. The data is being pulled from the cloud, going into the MHUB, and we've now added IR control over the Apple TV and IP control over the AVR. So
the last thing we have to do is add a connection to a smart system. A smart system in this case is the Rako light. So a smart device instead of an AV device.
Yes.
And you would do the same thing under add new devices. You would click on that and you would choose a smart device. And we've already created this connection because we had this baking in the oven already. So I'm just going to quickly show you what that connection looks like to this particular Rako system.
And whilst Justin is doing that, we have gone on to the second part of the setup process. So first thing is download the packs, and the second thing is create any connections to any IP device that you wish to control. Now we only have one IP device. The IP device is separate from an AV device.
From an IP pack,
yeah, from
which
an
is
IP
an
pack.
AV device. Correct.
Okay, so an IP device for us is the Rako here. And so what Justin is going to do is he's going to tell the MHUB how to connect to the Rako system. And there is no driver or any man-in-the-middle type of software. The MHUB is going to talk directly to Rako, and that's what he's doing at this stage.
The details as to how you build these connections is all available on our support site. So if you go to support.hdanywhere.com, you'll get all the details on how to make these Rako connections. You don't have to know, you just have to go look.
Yeah, you just have to go look on our support site. It's super easy. It's literally a case of copy and pasting.
Yeah, very much. We call this one Rako. We've described it as lights. The connection type is TCP. Again, come prepared. You need to know the IP address, and our tutorial on the support site will tell you which port number. For this system, it's port 9762. Each system is different, and once we're happy with that, we save. We've built our connection. It's as easy as that.
Bro, what's next?
Well, now that we've got device packs,
Yep.
our AV devices are controlled, now that we've got a smart device connection, in this case our lighting system for our cinema room, the next step is to create some commands for that lighting system.
Yes, so this is different from making the connection, right?
Correct.
And
the connection is just the destination for
the connection is, where do I connect to? And now we're going to define what commands I want to send. And the way that we do that in UOS is by, I don't know why it sounded like I'm quizzing you.
By building functions.
You
We
better
don't
know
call
it,
them
otherwise
commands.
you're out the door.
Otherwise I'm out
Right?
of a
Yeah.
job, Right. So we're building functions. These functions could be single, they could be Boolean. Don't worry too much about these names. It's all about what these commands or functions can do.
It's just think of it like I need to create a custom command. That's basically what a function is. And the process of doing that is, what we'll actually do is we'll put the location of all these pages as well as we're going through, because we appreciate we're going a little bit quick, but what we want to do is make a video that is not hopefully too long.
Also, we have an internal challenge that Dylan set for us here.
Yeah, that clock is supposed to be timing us, but we felt like we were going to overrun. So, but as you can see, it is really not that complicated. So what are you doing on screen there?
So I'm building a Boolean function for the Rako lighting system.
Okay.
In other words, it's an on and an off function, and we're going to put in the commands to switch the lights in the cinema on and to switch the lights of the cinema off.
A Boolean is a technical term for just basically opposite. So
True or a
up,
false.
down, true, false. on, off, mute, unmute, something like that.
Yep.
So, and that's perfect for a lighting control because you know, lights only do on and off unless, you know, they dim the lights or whatever. But in most cases, that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need an on and off, so that's what we are going to define here.
Now what I'm going to do is go to our command generator. We've built a command generator on our support site because with the Rako API, there are a bunch of values you have to put in order to tell Rako which lights to turn on and off. We need to know the room ID, we need to know the channel ID from Rako. If you are a Rako integrator with your Rako system, you'll have a program called RaySoft Pro, or you can just query the Rako system directly to get this information. Each system is different, but that's how Rako works.
Generally, when you're making an IP connection to something, the sort of software that you use to configure the device you're looking to control will give away these IDs or information about its control away in its software. So all we're doing is we're putting in the lighting, a couple of Rako IDs in, and we're chucking that all into our command generator, and that will come out with the sort of code, I guess. It's not really code, but it is the code that you need to paste into UOS, because if you remember, I said that it's the MHUB will talk directly to the Rako light. So what we're talking to the Rako in Rako's own language. So the command generator is essentially translating what you want to do, which is turn that light on or off, and it is translating into a Rako command, which you're going to send directly from the MHUB to Rako. So where are we at now, Justin?
I have copied the commands for on and then for off out of the command generator on our support site, and I've pasted them into the function builder inside uControl.
I mean, it's as simple as copying and pasting, right?
It quite literally
Yeah.
is. At the end of this now, I'm assigning that to a zone, because when we're building these functions, we can be doing this single room, we could be doing the whole home. So as you're building these functions, you can make them room specific, you can make them generic. You'll notice on the setup screen here, we even have an option for do not display, which means that we can build functions that just appear in sequences. They don't appear on the app, they don't appear on the remote, they just appear in sequences, which is very useful in a cinema room sometimes when we're doing quite creative lighting.
Yeah.
And we want to do a whole lot of
Like gaming.
Yeah,
Like you might not want to have a button that says gaming, but you might have a sequence.
create a sequence,
yeah.
and there might be 5 different commands of things that's got to
Switch
happen.
me to the PlayStation.
Absolutely.
Make my lights go blue. You know, you that's where a do not display for a function. But generally, a function is how you'd send a command.
Correct.
In UOS.
So I've built this function, I've saved it to the cinema, I'm coming back into the function now, and I want to test this function. The light is off right now, so I want to make sure that my on command works,
Yep.
which it does.
All lights have turned
great.
on.
So all lights have turned on, and if I test this function again, all lights will turn off. So great, we then have a pretty good idea of what our system is going to do.
And there goes the lights. Excellent.
There we go.
Okay.
So now that I'm happy with that, I click save, we've built this function. We've already pre-built another one, which is a dimmed value, which is going to become part of our movie mode when we build a sequence. So now that we've built functions, that's our next step.
Well, the next step after you've built your functions is to create a smart,
automations.
or smart automation, namely a sequence, I guess.
Yeah.
And what is a sequence? Well, a sequence is what it pretty much, well, a sequence of events, like a macro, where you can get the UOS device or any of the devices that MHUB is able to control to execute any command of your choice in a sequential order, one after the other. And in our case, to achieve that control expectation, Justin, what is the sequence that we are building?
The first sequence I'm building is an Apple TV mode sequence. What that will do, what I want it to do, is switch the MHUB to Apple TV, which the MHUB is going to do every time we choose Apple TV anyway. I want to then make sure the TV comes on if it was off, and if it's on, it'll just stay on. And I want the AVR to come on and go to the correct input, so that when I choose Apple TV, my TV will come on if it was off, my music and my sound system is ready to play whatever the Apple TV is playing, and all I had to do is press a single button to make that happen.
Bro, that sounds like a lot of stuff, Justin.
It's quick. So the nice thing is building sequences is a very straightforward process. You have a selection of types of commands. Are we sending a source command? Are we sending a TV command? And then for each of those individual devices that you want to send commands to, which command are you sending? The first one I'm doing here is switching the TV on. It's a discrete command for this TV, so that's great, because that means if the TV is already on and I choose Apple TV, the TV will just stay on. The next thing I'm going to do is add the same thing for the AV receiver to make sure that that also comes on.
So generally, when you install a uControl pack into the system, whether it be IP or IR, it exposes all the commands in sequences. But then you also get a couple of extra tricks as well. So there is a CC library in the system, and I mentioned before that if your MHUB supports volume control on its audio outputs, you can also control the volume. So you can do things like control volume natively from the system. You could automate any number of IP commands or IR commands. You could send CEC instructions, or you can send an instruction over one of your IP connections to devices like Rako or Philips Hue or Shelly or whatever, to create quite complex and very integrated sequences of events to control your room. In this case, what we're doing at this moment.
I'm now building a room off sequence.
Okay, a room off sequence, and I guess that's because you're going to be mapping that to the room off event on the remote controller.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm jumping the gun a little bit here.
Not at all.
So yeah. So in this case, sequences to get the room into what we call a room ready state or a room off state. In most cases, in a media or cinema room environment, the sequence most likely to be used is probably the room off state, I guess, where you've got multiple things that are in that room, but they all have different ways to turn them off. This is something that's just begging for a smart automation or a sequence, and that's what Justin is doing. Anything else I'm missing there on sequences?
No, not at all.
No.
And if you're following what I'm doing on the screen, what you'll see is when I add a function, I have the choice of, for this particular function, if you remember, we built a light function which was on and off. I have the choice to invert the command, in other words, go for the off option, as opposed to leaving that alone, in which case that's just the on option.
So you've embedded that function into the sequence.
Into the sequence.
Yeah. So that's a very, very powerful thing. That gives you a lot of flexibility. Normally you'd have to build like one sequence for on, one sequence for off. But with UOS, you can choose whether you want the on state or the off state in your sequence, or whether or not it can be whether something else like a voice command or something can trigger the on event or the off event in a sequence.
So now, in sort of opposition to that, I'm making a room on command very quickly, because that also allows us to leverage one of the cool new features of the uControl remote and
Yes.
UOS 1106.
Which is the power button options.
Managing the power button options.
Yes. So yeah, whilst well, actually, I probably won't talk about that just yet. I probably just won't. I won't cover that just yet.
Fair enough.
So we almost there?
Yep, almost there.
Okay.
This is the joy of our sequence system. You can build sequences quickly.
And what is the sequence doing again
This
for the
particular
remote?
sequence is going to switch the lights on, it's going to switch the AV system on, get it ready for us.
Okay, cool.
So that would be a room on sequence. We may not use that on the remote, you may use that on a key panel or wall mode on the iPad mounted outside the cinema.
That's right.
To kick that in.
Yes. So whilst this video is quite specific for the remote, we've done that because most people are asking us how to do set up the remote or what steps are required before getting to the remote. But like I said, what you should really do is have a plan before you go in. So the remote isn't the only interface. You also have the app. You can have an iPad that's mounted and permanently kept inside the cinema room, or you can have something like the Rhythm Switch Pro, the uControl Rhythm Switch, and that could be on the outside of the room, even with these sequences added to it.
Yep.
Or
you can even do the Rako light switches.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
could even use Rako's own switches. So like just where you might have like just a lights on, lights off. Then the other button could be like cinema on, or it could all be combined from their own switch set.
Right, so now that we've built our functions, our smart functions, which tell our lighting system what to do in the cinema, we've built our sequences, our smart automations. Now, what we do is test everything with the app. Make sure that the app connects to the system and that all these smarts work exactly the way you expect them to work. We've obviously been able to test out of UOS, but the app will give you the added layer of checking, just to make sure that your system works exactly the way you want to. And once you've checked the system with your app, then you can start adding your remote control.
Bro, that's a very good top tip. The reason for that is that the remote is, like we said, it is the last thing you want to add. You really want to just make sure everything is great on the app, and you can use that like a litmus test.
Absolutely.
Just make sure that your sequences are all correct. And the other thing is that it's mobile and it supports multiple zones. So once you've configured the remote, it's configured only in one zone.
One zone. You
Whereas
can use the app to test the whole property.
Where the app, you can just walk around the entire property and individually test everything before you start commissioning and committing configuration to the remote. Do we need to mention anything else? Nothing to do with the zones beforehand, or just...
No, other than in case you're not sure, Dylan has mentioned it. Remote controls are zone specific. You can have a remote is assigned to a zone. We don't do this walk around the whole house with a single remote thing. I think that's important.
Right.
In this cinema zone right now, we're ready to set up the remote. We've clicked add a new remote in uControl, and the first question that actually comes up with is, have you set everything up with the app? So we just want to make dead sure that you have.
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite an important question.
Yeah. So it's just an added layer of don't start at the remote. Go set up uControl. Go test uControl using the app, because that's the quickest one. And then the next question is enter an IP address.
I mean, the IP address of the remote will be on the remote once you've configured it.
So this particular remote's IP address ends in .1.110.
Do you want me to read that out to you?
No worries.
192.168.1.110. It's just written on the front screen.
Yeah. We click continue. What's happening now is uControl is going to connect to the remote, make sure there is a remote there. We then get to define which zone we're setting up. Now this is a single zone cinema room system, so we only have the one zone, which in the Packney Palace is the cinema room.
Oh, is that what you call it?
That's what I called it.
Great.
So we're going to click cinema room.
And this again is very similar to the first boot sequence, in that there's a walk through a wizard just to make it as easy as possible. But the real magic comes once you enter the remote
configuration.
Because what we're doing is we're doing the base configuration for the remote, and then after that you could go fully custom.
And in that base configuration, you get a chance to edit the source names to be more remote friendly, because it's a smaller display than a mobile phone.
Yep.
I've just defined what the audio endpoint for this room is going to be, which is the AV receiver, because that's our main device. We do have the power to decide what devices may or may not be controlled directly from the remote, but in the cinema room, you're going to leave all that control to the MHUB. We're not going to send any infrared out of the remote as a rule. And so we've set that all up accordingly, and then
although you can send the infrared out the remote, it's your choice really. But for automation purposes, you probably, that's
if
again
you're running
why we're picking the
automations or
MHUB as an example.
Yeah, you want to let the controller do the work.
It definitely gives you a more professional finish versus a zone processor.
Yes.
But again, the zone processor will do it, but the MHUB does it ever so slightly better.
So now we're on the configuration page. Here we get to customize the remote control. This is possibly the most exciting part of the process, really.
Yeah, what we did was we put pictures up on the internet and social media. Everyone loves this page, which is why they're all running and rushing into this page. And they're like, why can't I get the TV to work? It's because you haven't installed any packs. My room doesn't turn off. Well, exactly. You've got to configure it first.
uControl needs to know this.
What happens is everyone thinks that they can configure it at this page, but it's not. All you're doing is making the remote perfectly customized for your client or your customer's needs on this page. If they don't like the way a certain button works, or they want to move something, that's what this page is for. It's not necessarily for customizing the actual remote experience.
Correct. So I'm going to add
What we're going to do, yeah.
So what I'm going to do is show you that most buttons, not all buttons, but most buttons on this remote control that are editable or customizable have two events: press or press and hold. And you can either add a series of events, up to 4 events per, or 4 commands per event to those, or you can just add single commands, and then the button will either act as a list if it's our custom key.
Commands,
if it's custom key, it'll act as a list. If it's a normal key, like a numeric key, it'll just execute all those commands one after the other. In this case, we're going to go to the custom key. We're going to go to custom key number 1, the single dot on the remote control. We're going to select a press event, and the command we're going to add is that function, one of the functions we built, and the function is lights. And I've got the choice of true or false. True will be the lights on, false will be the lights off. So the press event for this is going to be lights on. And then the press and hold event for this particular button is going to be that same function, but this time we're going to choose the false option. And false means the lights will go off.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Hence Boolean.
So very easy for the end user to understand. You press the single button, the lights will come on. You press and hold that button for 3 seconds, the lights will go off.
And if they don't like it, you can show a list.
Customize it in any which way they want. You can give them lists. If this is not a cinema room, if this is a media room and there are blinds and other things got to be managed, you may want to offer the blinds control as up, down, and stop. You can put that onto a button all under press and then just have a list to make that happen.
You have full control.
Absolutely.
And if you want to know more about that, just let us know in the comments and we'll make a video on that too.
Then I'm going to show you a very cool customization of the power button. Remember, I built those 2 sequences, room on and room off. Now the power button has 3 possible modes these days. We can make a list, an editable list of all the power commands that you want the client to see for the individual devices. But we also, in response to popular request, have created the room on, room off capability. And what that will do is just apply a smart sequence to the press and a smart sequence to the press and hold. And you can choose to show those sequences or hide them. In this particular instance, we're going to hide them. And I'm going to have the press being room on and the press and hold being room off.
So
I'm
just
hide them.
Just to repeat what Justin, just so that it's clear what Justin's just said, is that he's configuring the remote so when you press the power button, the cinema will turn on, and if you press and hold the power button, the cinema will turn off. So it's it's not like a toggle. So it'll stop you from accidentally turning off the entire cinema room
halfway through the movie.
Halfway through the movie, yep. It is something where you need intent to turn it off, and this is something that, again, in a cinema or media room, it is something that could be very, very useful because there are multiple bits of kit in that room.
Yeah. For some clients, they don't want but what they see as the complexity of choosing what they do and don't want to switch on. They just want to switch a room on and switch a room off. The room only has that function. And in cinema rooms, that's very reasonable.
We give you the option.
Yeah.
However you want to turn things on and off individually, automated, or just have it control the display. To suit the client. Cool.
The other thing we can do when you're doing a cinema room or a media room is you can really manage the behavior of the AV system quite nicely with the remote, better in honesty than you can do with the app. The app is a one-size-fits-all. I think it's the best way to describe it.
That's a great way of putting it.
Whereas the remote control can be very tailored to the room that it's in.
Yes, that's spot on. Think of the remote as like the most custom thing that you could do for your customer or your client.
So I'm going to go to the input button. I'm going to go to the Apple TV device. And I can see already that there's a switch Apple TV command. In other words, because this is an MHUB, when I hit Apple TV out of the list of inputs, it's going to tell the MHUB to switch to the Apple TV in the cinema. That's expected. It's going to switch the remote control to be ready to control the Apple TV. But I want to take that one step further in this experience. I want to add some actions to what happens when you choose Apple TV. So under Manage Actions, I'm going to select a command, in this case, a sequence. And that sequence is a sequence I built called Apple TV. And what does the Apple TV sequence do? It switches on the display, it switches on the AV receiver, and makes sure the AV receiver is dragged to the correct input from the MHUB, just to be sure that if anybody was pressing any buttons, that everything works perfectly.
So you're basically adding a secondary way to turn on the cinema room.
Absolutely.
So like you could turn it on by pressing the power button, or you could just select the input that you want to watch, and it will also turn it on.
It'll turn on the AV system.
Which is, yeah, I've seen that in a couple of control systems.
And then just to show you a sort of a play on that, I'm going to choose an input. We don't have a kaleidoscope here, but I'm going to choose the kaleidoscope input. There's another way to do that too. So there's 3 possible ways in the grand scheme of things. Under kaleidoscope, what I could do is when I manage those actions, I could, instead of building the sequence, which truthfully is the best way to do it, I could also just individually add control pack commands. And I could say, for the kaleidoscope, please go to, when I choose kaleidoscope, please go to the TV, choose the power on command for the TV. Then I can add that action. Then I can add another action, which is turn the AV receiver on and make sure that that comes on. Power on, and the action, and I can do it that way too.
So there's multiple ways to skin this cat.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
and again, our point isn't necessarily to go into all the detail with that.
No.
It is just simply, the purpose of this video is to guide you through from setting up to getting a basic setup operational and running. But again, if you want us to really go into like the real deep stuff, like the real tricks.
Yes.
Just again, let us know in the comments below. Yeah.
I've done one last thing. I've taken a bit of poetic license here. For the play button of the Apple TV, I've added the movie mode for the lights.
Perfect.
So in a cinema room, we can have it. You don't have to, but you can have it. When you press play on your media player in that cinema room, the lighting system, in this case our Rako, goes down to dim, so that now you can watch your TV.
Brilliant.
Or your show. So you'll notice that light's gone on the screenshot, that the keys that have been customized have turned blue. That tells us that they have got some custom commands. When we're happy with the layout and configuration of our remote, all we have to do is click save to remote. All of this gets bundled into a configuration file, handed over to the remote.
Some very clever stuff is going on.
That's where you and your team have come in and created that cleverness.
I can't take any credit for it.
Oh, I don't.
But I am.
So we wait for that process to complete. The remote control will tell you, and what it will do is it will tell you to please wait. It'll upload that information onto the remote control. It will reboot itself.
Yes.
To configure that information, and then once it's configured, it will tell you quite happily that it is controlling the zone we assigned it to, in this case the cinema zone. So it's busy doing the reboot and upload right now on the remote. This can take, depending on how much customization you've done, this can take a certain period of time, but usually it's done within 20 to 30 seconds. So once we've got our remote control uploaded and ready to roll, and of course this is why it's so important to have the remote control charged in the room, we've got the please wait, it's busy rebooting, and the remote control is going to be ready for us. It reconnects to the system automatically, and that's one of the good things about that. We're ready to control the cinema room, and in this case we're in Apple TV mode, and as you can see we're already controlling the Apple TV. But
Justin
if I were
is
to
pointing it at the TV.
yeah,
like you would
I'll have it.
You don't have to do that, obviously.
Really don't.
He's like, we're controlling this Apple TV that isn't there, but
so obviously, as I said to you,
you can't not do it.
No.
Oh look, the lights are turned on too.
Can press the lights. Remember, we put the press to switch the lights on, the press and hold to switch the lights off. So we have all of those controls now being executed from the remote control. And of course, if the lights were on, we came into the room, we started the room, we got everything going. I added that little feature, of course, that if I press play on the Apple TV, that if the Apple TV was ready to play a movie, that it would play the movie, but it would also then execute whatever other commands or sequences I wanted.
What we're doing is we're demonstrating individual controls, but when you put them all together in a sequence, whatever sequence that you want, you're basically limited with your imagination and whatever your client might want to ask you to do.
Correct. And when we're finished with our room and we've done everything else and we're leaving the room, press and hold, AV system goes off, lights go off,
AVR's gone off,
everything's off, room's done.
So we've shut the room down. So what have we done today? Just in, I don't know how long, I think we've overrun, but whatever it is. We've done in like 25 minutes or something. We've shown a fairly basic configuration of a cinema or media room, but we hope we've sort of given you the sort of building blocks to go and build real customizations from it.
Yeah. You can make some amazing experiences, and you've got to have a little preparation. We've told you that before.
Have a plan.
Yeah, have
Yep.
a plan and sort of map this. It's almost like you're building a presentation or a show. You've got to know where it's got to go, what the end result's going to be, and what suits the people you're building it for. And then you can make some amazing experiences.
And as we've mentioned many times, I think I've mentioned it quite a lot. If you want any more deeper dives or want us to do a video like this on another piece of hardware, just let us know in the comments below. If you want to build or spec a system,
Best place to do
yeah,
that.
our system builder. You could go to hda.systems/builder. That's hda.systems/builder. I don't know why I'm repeating it like I'm on a phone, because it'll be in the description here at the bottom of the video. And yeah, you can send us a specification and we'll come back
Ask
with
any questions, whatever you need.
Yeah, all there. All right,
Brilliant.
so thank you very much.
See you soon.
Goodbye.